Okay, so today I'm going to be asking which one of these light bulbs gives the spectrum that's most similar to sunlight. So if you get sunlight and you split it through a diffraction grating or a prism, you get something that looks like this.
Now, to characterize sunlight, I'm just going to show it to you through a diffraction grating. Now, don't do this with your naked eye, obviously, because your eyes don't have pain receptors on, which means you can actually burn or permanently damage your eyes by looking at the sun directly. So what I've got here is diffraction grating. So that's just showing you the entire solar spectrum. It's an effect very similar to looking through a prism.
From the ultraviolet over here, which is beyond where your eyes can see, through the violet, through the entire spectrum to the red end, which is the lower energy end of the spectrum. And this is, once you get off this end, you're into the infrared. So this is basically where you feel heat, and this is what gives you a suntan over here. This is what burns your skin. So the gold standard that we're going to be looking for here is, what does real sunlight look like?
But what would be really useful is if I can actually integrate up the intensity here. And for that, I'm going to need a spectrometer. So that's my little spectrometer. And it's got a fiber optic cable coming out of it here. And so that'll actually give me the spectrum of whatever I pointed at. So hopefully, if I pointed at the sun, there you go, it's beautiful. You actually see what the solar spectrum looks like. And you see all these little lines here. These are actually absorption lines in the sun, which will be interesting later.
So I'm going to start with the incandescent bulb, which is this guy here. He gets hot pretty quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my spectrometer fibre optic down here till you actually can see a nice spectrum. There you go. Beautiful. So it's got a similar sort of characteristic shape to the solar spectrum. There are none of those really, well, there's one sort of absorption line, but there are none of these absorption lines from the gases in our atmosphere or from the actual elements on the sun. It's really quite poor like that. I'm going to unscrew this guy pretty quick because he gets hot. In fact, there's one last thing I've got to show you on that, if I can do it. Hang on, here we go. There is this huge infrared tail on the incandescent light bulbs, and that means that they're really putting off the heat. These, even from here, I can feel this is bloody hot, to the point where it'll burn your fingers very quickly. Now I want you to compare that infrared tail to what you get off an LED light bulb. So this is a cheap LED light bulb from China, and so it's also got a very nice smooth spectrum. There's this peak in the violet, but there's no long infrared tail. These things put off basically no heat at all. I mean, I just about feel it if I grab hold of the bulb, but if I were to do that with the incandescent, I would burn my fingers. But it's got a spectrum. It's not quite a black body spectrum. It's not got that long tail into the infrared, but it actually is pretty good for light. And now I'm going to compare that to the more expensive LED bulb, and if we come down to that guy, you'll see it's basically the same. It's more or less the same shape. It doesn't give off anywhere near as much heat. It's got that little peak in the violet. It's slightly different shape, but it's basically the same general spectrum. Now the interesting one is when we come over to this guy, which is the fluorescent light bulb. Because the fluorescent, you will see, is completely different. So they all look sort of, if I plug all these in together, which I'll do in a sec, there we go, that's beautiful. All those spikes. So if I go from the LED bulb here, they both look like white light. Yeah, they all look like white light. To the eye, as to the video camera, they all basically look the same. Yet, if I go from the LED light bulb to the fluorescent, the spectrum is crazy different. So both of those look like white light to your eyes. Now what you've got here is a load of emission bands. This is coated with a phosphorescent material. So when this is irradiated, I think the way it works is this is irradiated with ultraviolet that then gives off visible light. And because these are now electronic transitions, there are two different types of mechanism by which you can get light emitted. The first is essentially a black body radiation, which is the continuous type spectrum you saw with the sun and with the incandescent bulb. But this is a different sort of light emission. This is if an electron drops between two energy states, it gives off a very discrete energy photon. And that's basically what you're looking at here. These are all the discrete electron transitions that are actually going on the fluorescent coating of the fluorescent bulb. So, yeah, it's just one of these fascinating things that to your eyes, they look the same. They really do. But, not to the spectrometer they don't. However, if you were to look at these at a high frame rate, then you might see something a little different.